Thanks. Silence cell phones, please. We're good, Brooke.
We're up.
Okay. I make a motion, we open the meeting.
Second. Trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkes.
Aye.
Trustee Coe. Aye. Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, so this is, what we're trying to do as a board is sort of schedule regular workshops. So it's not a formal meeting, but it gives, the trustees an opportunity to publicly sort of discuss larger issues or legislation that we're working on. So we're not really tying up our regular meetings because those are really more transaction oriented. So today, first of all, I should probably open with, does any board member have any conflict of interest or anything to disclose regarding the items?
I do not. I do not.
I do not.
I do not. So today, we're looking at just tweaking some of the proposed legislation regarding a sidewalk safety initiative in the village, and also a discussion about the Arboretum. We have a planning discussion with the community coming up and just sort of finalizing what that's going to look like. So we'll start with the sidewalk safety initiative. We did have our hearing at our last meeting, and we had some feedback from folks in the community. And just wanted to bring it back just so we can tweak this in the workshop. And I don't know, David, if you wanted to kick anything off, but.
No, not really. I mean, it's from the public. I think it sounds like there is a desire to, I don't know how to frame it. Data, I guess. I don't know. It's a status quo thing, I guess. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Don't stop. No, I think what I really heard is that people don't feel safe on our main streets bicycling. And if you don't feel safe, even if you're told you should bike on the street, they'll go on the sidewalk. That's kind of what I heard. I don't know, maybe you folks heard differently.
I heard that too.
I also heard that, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't hear any sort of blowback about, gee, dismount your bike if you're in a high dense area. I don't think anybody had a problem with, our commercial areas.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I mean, and if they did, my response is too bad, because we're really concerned about people on the sidewalks in our dense areas. That's what really prompted a lot of us too.
5%.
Yeah.
And I think,
You know-
we were talking about kids, most kids like bike to the village,
Mhm, mhm.
and I don't see them having I don't think they should have a problem. They're biking to the village, they can get there safely, and then usually they want to like hang out and walk around and go to utility, so I don't see them having to be on their bike during the dense.
Which brings me to bike racks. We need, I think, to really pump up, and we
Maybe
actually
that might
removed
encourage
some bike racks because we had the rented bikes, the hopper system in the village. This was, I think, before you moved here, and it really wasn't successful because most people have bikes. If you're a tourist, you're going to rent from towpath. It just didn't work out. So we took out some bike racks to put in hopper bike racks. And I think we need to, let's take a look at that again. I know our DPW probably has them in storage, that kind of thing. And,
Yeah, I need to know about talk to the superintendent.
yeah, let's make that an action item. I was thinking about that.
I'll bring it back on the next agenda.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, you were gonna say something?
Oh, no, I think, again, as probably a more serious biker than most of the people that were talking at the public hearing, I do find it kind of weird that like the quality of biking you would get on our sidewalks doesn't seem
Yeah,
good. So it was a little weird to me to hear like, I need to be biking on the village sidewalks. And I kind of look and I say, have you been on those on a bike? They're not great.
quality of biking
Or
relative
having
to
a
how
good bike
safe, again, it only goes back to safety. That's what I keep hearing over and over again. So I agree with you.
Safety of what?
Hit by a car, you'd rather
No,
not
but the
be hit by a
perceived-
car, you'd rather bike on a rough sidewalk.
But the
That's-
perceived fear, correct?
Okay, well, I can't, I'm just
Well, would you
listening to
disagree
feedback.
with what actual data says?
No, I'm not even trying to be argumentative. I'm trying to understand.
Well, I don't think we are at all.
No,
I'm just saying
Okay.
from a, yeah, you can take a pause for a second. What I'm
Sure,
saying
love
is from, okay. Or you could do whatever this is. I think this is this is a serious conversation of the data just does not say that. Now, granted, if people want to say, let's adjust, if the board is saying, we want to present legislation that is demonstrably and factually less safe than what was originally put together, we just should acknowledge that and recognize that we may be passing something that is less safe.
I just said I disagreed with them.
I'm
I
not just saying
know.
you, I'm saying the board,
Oh,
all of us.
yeah, okay.
If we are,
We have to protect our community and people on sidewalks too. But I also think.
so what I'm saying is that if we want that to be, as long as we are okay and we recognize that by doing that, it is less safe, then proceed.
Which brings me to what you have in front of you. Thank you for printing this out, Dorothea. What you're looking at is an excerpt from our active transportation plan. And this was put in place, I think, 7 years ago, and adopted jointly by the town and the village. And you're looking at a section, and we're in a workshop, but I mean, if you can maybe, at some point sort of drill down and take a look at it. But what it looks at is the fact that we recognize we have significant heavy arteries that are state-owned roads going through our village. And again, getting back to some of the feedback, all the feedback was from those arteries about biking on Main, biking on state, biking on, the main roads. What the active transportation plan looked at was we need to have bike boulevards, other areas where you can safely bike off the main arteries. And they're identified in the plan as little bike boulevards on roads that we own as a village. Traffic tends to be a bit slower, safer. We have control over those roads. And this really is a piece of the plan that I think we could maybe all of us circle back to in addition to the legislation. And maybe get some funding where we put in sharrows, where we do different striping on, you'll see like different boulevards, South and Wood, one, on Sutherland. So you can get through the village in a safer way. And then if you're in like the heavy duty commercial areas, you're off your bike. You're just off your bike. You dismount. So I think it's worth circling back on this and taking a look. And again, maybe doing better signage, don't go down Main, make the right on Church or, whatever it is. And there's some kind of painting or striping and visual cues for bicyclists. So, and again, this was adopted, as I said, a number of years ago, but I think it's still worth revisiting or at least tweaking. So I'd ask the board to consider this. In addition to the legislation, I mean, I know we need the legislation, yeah.
So the bike boulevards 1 through 4, do we have a map of where they are? I mean, sort of reading through it.
Well, there's a narrative there, and then there's a map, I believe, it looks like on page 83, or is that the traffic?
That's not really.
Oh, no, that's not it, I'm sorry.
Bicycle.
I hear it as
Okay, there you go.
84, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it should be in there.
Yeah.
Delineating those areas, and you can see they're really all off of main streets.
So the idea here being get in the roadbed, peel away, what is it, 18 inches on either side? And
Yeah, we'll have to look at, I mean, I think some of the parameters have changed. And, I don't know that it's the perfect solution. I think it may be a better solution. Just as what they did when they did the whole big redo of East Avenue and had all that negotiating about, can we do bike lanes? How do we do it? We maybe end up doing something like sharrows, if you're familiar with that. Sharrows are just large arrows painted alongside where a bike lane would be.
Mhm.
The road may not be wide enough
okay.
to incorporate a true bike lane for people,
Mhm.
but it is an alert that's the safer area for bicyclists and a cue for motorists to know that you yield to any
It could be a bicycle
in the
time
narrow
there.
lane.
And that's just painting.
Yeah. In other words, I don't think there's also, Governor Hochul just released some funds for transportation upgrades that would affect pedestrian and bicycle safety in communities. So maybe we could look at that if we wanted to do additional signage, you know, post better maps maybe on our website, you know, really educate the public about this. So there's alternatives. One other thing too, and I think we could really revisit this and maybe expand on this. Our attorney made a recommendation, which I think is good, to also create a bike boulevard coming off of French Road as you come up Grove. You know, because that's a fairly quiet street, it's much safer than coming right up East Avenue. So we could really, you know, maybe even tweak this,
That's
you know.
interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was a good one, you know. And also, even if you're going to the Auburn Trail, you know,
Would
that's
you,
another way to get there.
would you then pull that back onto North Main, or would you have it kind of cycle through private?
Well, we,
Do that.
to be discussed. I mean, you know, this is, we're just throwing this out. I mean, you know, that's what the workshop's about. I mean, I think, you know, we're all gonna wanna maybe take a better look at this. I mean, you just received this data. It's also online. It's always, it's on our website, so
Yeah.
anybody can take a look, but I think it's an opportunity for us to take a look at what we already adopted in our active transportation plan and maybe just go to some next steps. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Mayor, I'd
Lisa.
like to make some comments. I agree with you. I think that it was loud and clear that people, whether it's perception data or not, they still feel unsafe. And this is their community and they want their kids to be safe. They want to feel safe. Now, when we talk about the data, you know, that data is not Pittsford Village, right? I mean, I know you can't pull up data when it's not done, but I think that that data is kind of expansive. And I totally get the pulling out the driveway thing, but I think that the village is very specific as to safety on sidewalks versus safety in streets. And I don't know if that data supports our tiny little village. I really think that we need to maximize street safety and traffic calming. I think we still have a lot of room to grow. I think we could start putting more on-street parking. I know you gave us a little description of some areas that could be additional parking, which I think would help with a lot of things, not just traffic calming. I don't know if this is doable, but I really think we need to push on NISTOD. And I know we talked about doing a petition and writing letters and really just being on them to do some things that we think would be important. You know, down Main Street, let's use this as an example. They have the center lines, right? Which supposedly are supposed to be traffic calming, which they probably are a bit. How difficult would it be to have an elevation there? Not so much like a planted median, but an elevation with curbing that
Down
would
where?
really,
Sorry, down where?
down Main Street, there's the center line.
Mhm.
Some of our center streets do have lines already where people are not supposed to be driving on. Why can't we elevate those?
Well, you know what, why, how about if we do this, because you know, you're trying to come up with a solution here. Give you the contact information for people at NISTOD,
Yeah.
and maybe if you could, you
I
know,
would love-
how about that, Dorothea? Make that an
That
action
would-
item for
that would be
Trustee
great.
Co.
I'm gonna really.
And, you know, maybe you could follow up on that with
Yeah.
NISTOD, and this is kind of what we want to do,
And maybe as a board, we can kind of do a little walk and see what areas do we think that we would request them to look at, and we can be creative. I also think, one more second, I liked your idea about the bike racks in the
No, we
dense
definitely-
areas. And, you know, this is kind of convincing kids to, yes, it's fun to bike to the village, but now you're here, here's all your friends. So almost like a little sign, kid-friendly sign that says, park your bike, run and jump and have fun with your friends, or talk with your friends. So to encourage them, oh yeah, I'll park my bike here, and then my friends and I can run around the village instead of biking around the village. So just a little reminder for kids that, you know, get off your bike, it's more fun. The other thing is, I do like Dave's idea of maybe putting together some kind of regulation that says yield to pedestrians if you're a certain distance away. I mean, how we're going to enforce that doesn't really matter. It's just the fact that it's bringing awareness. I do like the dismounting in dense areas. And I think that's it. Well, active. And then I think that we need to really promote this, working with kids in schools to really truly do a curriculum. And I know that it's been talked about a lot. I haven't seen any kind of,
I can speak to that in a minute.
oh, that'd be great. But that's really important because I think we talk to kids a little bit.
Legislation to be able to go talk to them first. I mean, a lot of that is basic, right? Like when no offense, but when I was a kid, you had safety town, right? That was put on by both your town, fire department, police department. These are things
Yeah.
these are things that exist,
Mhm.
right? Part of that is also on the parents,
Mhm.
right? To teach their student or teach their kids how to properly
Yeah.
ascertain what is a danger, how to be respectful of pedestrians and make sure that so again, I would say I appreciate what you're saying is that this village is different. Fortunately, that is not something I've seen. I've seen what's different in this village is a lot of people who have a view that get out of my way, right? Again, if
Our
somebody,
view or a bike view or a pedestrian view.
pedestrian view, that's what sidewalks are for, right? They're for pedestrians. They're not for, whether you guys want to put bicycles on them or not, they're not for bicycles. Okay, so as someone who has to walk, again, as someone who's trying to do something for the disabled pedestrians and people, again, no offense to everyone here, that people that have young children, it's tough.
And I totally agree with you,
Hang
David.
on, it's tough to do that in this village when you have people, especially, I noticed that a lot of people that were speaking, I know that we want to, we're not from here. In many cases, these were people who were far away. Now, I live here. I have neighbors, all who have little kids, strollers and stuff like that, dogs, and it is dangerous.
And
It is
I agree
dangerous.
with you, but
And I
we've got,
feel that
gotta fix the
Hang
problem.
on, I feel like the issue is the comfort of someone who doesn't want to dismount or wants to have a frankly bad bike ride on a sidewalk is taking precedent over people who just want to walk on the sidewalks that are made for them. So as a one person, I know we have the casual bikers lobby in here, but as the one person who is saying, look, we need to pay attention to the pedestrians. I just want to say, like, I'm not seeing it. Everyone said, oh, it's not me. I don't, I get off my bike. Well, as someone who deals with it, with strollers, with a family member with disabilities when they visit, it's not being followed.
So can I address that, David? I totally appreciate that and I agree, but I don't feel comfortable pushing people into an area that they perceive.
They don't
and
have to
dangerous.
like
And then the other
and
thing,
walk.
you're in a period of your life, you know, your lifestyle has little kids. When your kids are 12 and 13 and 14, you're gonna feel differently. I mean, you are.
Well,
You're-
first off, you don't know me to be able to say that.
Well, I'm just saying, I was a mom,
I would
but I would
teach
choose.
my children, as someone who knows how to bike properly in the road, I would teach them.
My kids knew how to bike and I would still feel uncomfortable putting my 13-year-old on the street.
Then walk.
Okay,
I don't know what to tell you, then walk.
Well,
yeah,
a
Dave,
couple things.
yeah, are you finished with your comment? Because I was gonna comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that the goals of keeping pedestrians safe on sidewalks by removing bicycles that are coming up upon or approaching or not yielding, right? The mechanism to ensure their safety is to prevent the bicyclists from being at speed, right? Or not yielding to them. It's not, keeping a pedestrian safe is not the same thing as an empty sidewalk with a bike on it. There's no pedestrian there. So what I'm suggesting is a bike on a sidewalk when there's no pedestrian, either in sight, within 10 feet, within 15 feet, right? We could put a law in the books that says when there's a pedestrian within 10 feet, 15 feet, whatever the number is that allows us and the pedestrian to feel safe, that bicyclist knows I either have to dismount and walk. If I want to overtake, I have to walk faster, right? Or I go on the road. And so if they find the disturbance of getting off and walking with pedestrians, dismounting to be a problem, we'll learn to ride in the road.
Well, I was gonna say, I think at this stage, for efficiency's sake, with this current board setup, we're not gonna win that argument. So I'm with you. I think the most, way that we can actually get something on the books, have some actual laws that we can point to,
You need a law.
would be to have that. And I do look forward to the annoying bike ride that those bikers will have, because it's going to be fun. And I can't wait to point to that law to say, hey, buddy, you're 10 feet. It's COVID time. Back up, get off your bike.
Right, treat it like COVID on the bike.
Exactly.
Up.
So,
And I have absolutely no challenge with saying to my kid, hey, go on to the library, right? Being a resident, kids who are 12 and a half. So I think that was under or above whatever.
Well, now it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
So, and
Humans get on the bike.
15 in a month. I have no problem saying, look, you can be on the sidewalk. I don't want you to cross at four corners. I want you to cross at a main artery, through, not at an intersection. It's safer, right? You can wait for traffic to stop, or you can, see what's going on. And, walk your bike across. If you're on the sidewalk, get off when you see a pedestrian within, 5-10 feet, me to you, whatever. When you're if you want to go through the traditional downtown and there's nobody on the sidewalk, I continue to believe that having speed enforcement is fine. If they're going at pedestrian pace when there's no pedestrian within 5-10 feet, fine, you can stay on your bike, you can kind of bike through traditional downtown, but as soon as you see a pedestrian, dismount. Or if you don't
That's
like
an
that,
educational component.
yeah, and if you don't like
Say
that,
that.
get in the road.
Yes, I pray that the other parents are like you.
Okay, so
But
I want to use the example you gave of your kids going to the library, because I think that's a really good one.
yeah,
They could cross Main, walk their bike across Main, bike through St. Lou, go down Rand, cut up down to South and cut over on the bike boulevards and be safe.
could say, we're gonna kick you off, or right, we're gonna prevent you, whatever. We'll legislate
These
you.
are alternative, safer routes throughout our village on streets that we own and can control and put proper signage and markers for people to be safe.
That's true, though I would still suggest to my child to stay on the sidewalk.
Well, into that, I would say again, for the kids who live, because there are plenty of teenagers who live on Rand
Mhm.
extension,
Mhm.
there are no signs. When they ride their bikes, they're in the street
Right.
and they are.
And so what I'm
And they
saying
know,
is,
look, this is a separate, they look at Rand and they say, I'm gonna cross Rand. I'm not going up a state highway. I'm not going.
Yeah, they'll go right
They
down.
go
there.
right down Rand.
They
Stay down Rand, and
Go
then
right down.
anytime I'm with my kids, I'm like, we're riding on the road today, right? And I try to put them behind me and stay where I am, follow traffic laws. And, one of the challenges is when you allow roadway and sidewalk driving, bicyclists feel privileged enough to be whatever they want, right? So you're on the road, you're on the sidewalk, you're on the road, you're on the sidewalk. And motorists have a hard time adjusting for the speed of a bicyclist on a sidewalk when they presume it to be at pedestrian pace. So coming back to the idea of what type of law could I be very comfortable with, much of what you wrote is fine. I think I would just, instead of saying you can't be on the sidewalk, say you can't be on the sidewalk when within 5 to 10 feet of a pedestrian.
You can't stop fast enough. I would make it a longer distance.
Yeah, where it has to be a calculation. Effectively, what you have to say is, what's the average speed of a bike-ish, right? On let's say it's 10 miles an hour or whatever it may be. And then you have to say, how many seconds of reaction time do we want to get?
You should-
back into the feet.
Here's what I would suggest. You allow sidewalk riding at pedestrian pace. Or running pace, the speed of a runner, speed of,
Oh, no. Sorry.
too fast, too slow.
Definitely too fast, because a bike is metal and there's a different level of momentum. When I've been hit twice by a bike,
Yep, okay, so let's come back.
walking quickly.
Again, let's come
Okay,
back to the
different
idea.
level of momentum when you have
Sure.
something that's being propelled.
But just like speed limits, if you have a dismount at 10 feet, that's your dismount. The bicyclist is responsible for what the pace is to that point to stop and to dismount by 10
I think
feet.
that's too,
But what I would say is have a speed, right, that you enforce, pedestrian pace, whatever it is, pedestrian pace, and then have a dismount requirement.
So David, let me ask you this. I really feel strongly that there should be a dismount requirement in a business dense area, even when
We
there's
all
no
do.
pedestrian. No,
Even when there's no.
Oh,
you know, I'll tell you why, I'll tell you why. Because let's use this as an
Driveway.
example. You're in the bookstore. You walk out the front door of the bookstore, you are on the sidewalk in 1 second. You got a little kid or a kid driving down on his bike, you walk out the bookstore, right there. They're not gonna see you in time,
That's my.
right? So my thing is, you've got,
Totality.
right, you've got people walking and visiting the stores, coming in and out of the stores that go directly onto the sidewalk. I think that we should just make a blanket business district. You don't ride your.
that's
bike.
where I
You
thought
walk.
we were.
Where I tried
We
to
all
put
were.
those districts in.
Now we're not?
Yeah, there's not many districts. There's the business district, there's the canal. And what other district are you talking about?
Like if LOR, it was.
Right.
So
And I think that's reasonable because they can walk.
So I'm perfectly comfortable with it in traditional downtown, and I'm perfectly.
Okay, so we can check that box.
Right,
We
check
have
it.
now discussed it. We are in agreement on that box. Okay,
I'm-
now we move
okay.
on.
We need, but
Bike racks there,
Bike racks.
bike racks
Or
there.
they can just walk in.
I want to, hang on one second, hang on. Let's focus only on the legislation, the bike racks, the bike boulevards.
That's all.
This is
right.
in addition to our legislation. We're
Okay.
not legislating a bike rack. The workshop is about, let's take a look at all the good work David did. We're so close, just a few.
Yeah, the only
ways
thing you have to do is take out,
We need this legislation, and then we need to look at enhancements with our active transportation plan. That's separate.
if the answer that we're gonna walk away today with is put in a dismount, foot requirement, then all we have to do is calculate that. Fine, that's easy. So then the change would be take out any concept of child, underage child, all that disappears. Because now anyone on a bike is able to be on a sidewalk.
If there's no pedestrian.
If there's no pedestrian, and if there is a pedestrian, there's a foot required. It's the idea of even like, changing the age from 12 to 40, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
The idea of, the confusion, the edge case where it was like you had a parent who would be like that disappears.
Yep.
So effectively we're striking those out and then we're changing it to a foot requirement. All of which I think Jeff said is
less
okay
restrictive.
because it's less restrictive.
Yeah, you got it.
So it's just
Okay, how do
adding
we-
in,
okay, data guy, how do we calculate?
I mean, literally it's the issue you would have is theoretically brakes are different on different bikes, but it doesn't matter. You can round out and say, I think for me, I calculated, you get 10 seconds. That's why I added the 300 foot for the lights.
Oh, yeah, I see. where you're
Remember, I
going.
had with the
Yes,
front light and the
yes.
rear light so that you can be seen
Mhm.
from 300 feet. I calculated it just back of the envelope of that gives 10 seconds of reaction.
Mhm. Well, even, even for drivers in cars, for tailgating, let's talk about tailgating. You pick a marker in the road and if you're less than 3 seconds, you're tailgating to that marker, in other words, so it's sort of.
Or if it's raining out, you would have less time,
Less-
like your traction would be lower and stuff.
That
So.
distance changes when you have a speed requirement, which if what I'm hearing is, and I think this is from a safety standpoint, Dave, coming back to statistics, right? Bicyclists on sidewalks generally are the responsible party for, I would think, the accident on the sidewalk. Because they're going too fast on a sidewalk where a pedestrian otherwise would have, and somebody comes out and hits them with a car or they hit a pedestrian, right?
Yeah, well, because in any case, someone could say, either if you're a pedestrian, you could say, why are you here?
Well,
Like,
what I'm saying is-
because the onus is on the bike to say, look, I'm in a heavier vehicle. Thus, the force, if I were to hit you, is going to be worse.
Sure, I guess backing up, what I'm saying is bicycle safety on roads, it's very likely that the fault of the accident on a sidewalk is the bicyclist's fault, not the motorist, not the car's fault.
In the road,
In the sidewalk.
I'm not even following you.
I mean, motorists pulling out, someone pulling out, right? What do you mean?
You're
Motorists?
just,
What I'm trying to say is, so we're citing statistics about accidents
Yeah.
of bikes
Yeah.
on sidewalks and then bicyclists
Yeah.
on roads. And what I'm saying is on a sidewalk, the bicyclist is likely more at fault, whereas on the road, the vehicle is more likely more at fault,
Yes.
right? So,
Okay.
And in many cases, if it's a bike on the road, similar,
And where does
Rules
this go with
apply.
legislation? Where does this go with
yeah,
legislation?
so with
How do we
legislation, all
apply
it
what you're
goes to
talking
is
about?
if you enforce speed, right? Then I think whether or not it's pedestrian speed or within sight of a sidewalk, it's within sight of a pedestrian, it's pedestrian speed, right? Or you just have it all be pedestrian speed. What everybody suggests is we want to be able to have bikes on sidewalks. So do you regulate speed or do you just regulate distance and dismounting? And I'm okay with it just being dismounting and distance. And it seems like the way you're trying to come up with a calculation,
well, it depends on
it'll.
reaction time.
That's correct. So this is why I brought it back to speed.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you control for speed, make it pedestrian versus runner or whatever else, you're slowing the transportation. If they want to go faster, go on the road. If you're confident enough to ride at speed on a sidewalk,
Come up with a line for legislation.
But that's what I mean,
pedestrian speed is a line that I've seen in some
Okay,
legislation.
okay.
Exactly, which, hey, again, if someone has decided their idea of a fun bike ride is effectively riding a bike at walking speed, hey, go for it, and then dismounting when the pedestrian,
They're really not gonna go.
enjoy.
You know what it is?
I don't know what this is.
Okay,
Like,
let's turn over the
it's
card.
weird.
Let's turn over all the cards. Pedestrian speed, I think really just the inference is, don't be doing a bicycle relay down a sidewalk.
Yes.
Okay, I think it's more. There's an educational component, this isn't where you're gonna open up the bike and tear through the village.
Mhm.
Pedestrian speed means being aware of pedestrians and their speed, maybe relative to your bike speed. Is what I'm going, because I agree with you, you're not gonna go.
Yeah, and that was, I think my,
On your bike.
again,
You're just
people,
not.
I'm not gonna yuck someone young, but like at the same time, that's, I think, what was a little confusing was, is this like the person who's trying to go exercising, or is this a person who's just like, oh, I wanna go to the dairy with
It's
my
a mode of
family?
transportation, yeah.
To which, if it's a mode of transportation, you're kind of like, okay, well, from an efficiency standpoint, you go.
So it's the middle leisurely stroll through the beautiful village on a sidewalk while bicycling a little bit and I don't know.
Right.
So why don't we
That's what
just
people
start-
want to do, go,
Let's, from a legislation standpoint, let's just start with
should be one,
distance. I would say just start with distance and dismounting and I think,
but we need a speed to get the distance, otherwise we're at.
sure, so I would.
So if we
presume-
say walking speed, because that's already in the legislation.
I would,
Yeah.
so to calculate distance, I would presume running speed or faster. I'm not saying make it farther, make it 10 feet, not 5 feet. Because nobody wants to be walking on a sidewalk and have somebody come up at a decent speed and only stop right at 5 feet, right?
So I'm 10 feet to Dorothea.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Hope you can stop.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Really don't.
If you have to be dismounted by that, you're still required to slow down to.
It's not, but I was like, the idea of running speed, that doesn't matter.
Can we, listen, this is how we take care of that. This should be in the definition. So if we have a definition of yield to pedestrian, what would the definition of yield to pedestrian mean?
You
Right?
just say, yeah. you
Right,
just-
then that's the language we could use. So a yield to a pedestrian would have a definition. So
Yeah.
that could be the dismount, that could be the speed, that could be the distance between you and the pedestrian. So if we use it that way, we'll be able to cover it a little easier and.
Yeah, it's not one thing, it's multiple,
Right, it's-
depending
yeah,
on the
and then-
circumstance.
So we're just saying yield to pedestrian. What does that mean, yield to pedestrian?
Yeah.
Right?
And actually, what I like about that too. Pedestrians, it's like, then,
Right, that'll cultivate that
so
pedestrian.
the fourth
Yeah.
is what everybody should be trained to do.
And what we're trying to say here is yield to pedestrians. Pedestrians have, the right of way.
That makes sense, David?
Yeah, I'm trying to think whether we
Whether or not it
already
can be done
say it
or
in
not.
there and
You
said.
adjust it.
But those are the criteria that would help yield to pedestrians.
Bottom line is
Distance.
this, we know a lot of this may
Dismount.
not be immediately enforceable. It isn't about that. It is about getting legislation on the books. So we have a starting point.
Yeah, it's almost like when in the precautions area, it's kind of in there. But in this case, it talks about unaccompanied child, so we.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
So it's almost
Right.
like whenever a person shall operate a bicycle, electric bicycle, electric scooter, inline skates, roller skates, scooter, or skateboard upon a sidewalk, such person shall wear a helmet with good fit fastened securely upon the head and the helmet straps, yield the right of way to any pedestrian.
Okay, right
And
there.
shall give an audible signal before overtaking and passing such pedestrian. Now, the issue is that would then have to be adjusted for a bike to say you have to be dismounted.
Well, hold on, unless we put yield, what does yield to pedestrian mean? That could be in our definition section. And that's where we could list what that means.
It would mean effectively you would need to let them, similar to yielding in a vehicle,
Mhm.
they would have to have to go first.
You slow down.
You would have to stop.
Yielding means that you are enabling
Them
the
to go,
person in
right.
your path
Exactly.
to move
However,
forward.
right, however, as a 12, 15-year-old, to me, a yield to pedestrian is I'm riding my bike and I see a pedestrian, I swerve around them. To me, that's.
That's part of the educational
Exactly,
component.
that's what I'm saying,
Again,
we
we're
gotta
looking at
describe what
this-
yielding means. What does
Or
yield
if you have
mean?
dismount.
Yeah, well,
then it's
right.
not.
Right.
Put it in the
Dismount.
definition,
Yeah.
like,
Put it
I
in the
agree with
definition.
you, it just becomes
So they
part
know
of
what
the
that
narrative.
means.
Just becomes
They'll be
part of
like,
the
what does that
narrative.
mean?
Let's do that, and
Just put it in there.
that's an action item. Because it's sort of no harm, no foul, why
Right,
wouldn't
and
we?
that describes exactly what that means to yield to pedestrian, not your thought of yield. What
The-
we're saying to be
The
yield.
benefit of the distance too is it prevents the swerve around on the grass
Yes,
because you're too close.
exactly, and that happens a lot. And
Yeah,
that's
they
what-
come right up on you.
Yeah,
That's right. So some yield, right? All right, so how about, let's start with the distance thing. And let's talk about these districts, dismounting
Yes.
requirements. If I'm in the traditional downtown and my bike, I'm in the village, I park it in Book Culture, my bike's over there, I walk down to Derry. I gotta go get my bike back, and then I wanna go down to Shone Place, so I gotta hike back to get my bike, and then I gotta walk it all the way down unless I go on the road. But the road is exactly where people are uncomfortable. What I would suggest is we focus initially just on the TDD in whatever degree in Shone Place we want. If after adoption of this, we want to add districts, we add districts,
TDD is,
traditional
Traditional downtown
so
development,
that would be,
it's our commercial area.
right,
uptown.
right, so that would just be from Locust to State,
You have to look at our zoning.
Pretty much.
right?
Yeah, roughly.
That's it,
Yeah,
that's just
pretty
that, just
And a
that.
little bit, it scoots right.
Yeah, David, here it is.
So,
It doesn't include the LOR where that.
It's this kind of candy striped
Right.
part down here.
mhm.
The reason why I'm suggesting we not include any other district is because with the rule to yield at a 10-foot distance, you will not have anybody able to overtake on a bike on any bridge going down to Shone Place, right? It's not possible. So if nobody's on the sidewalk, why require people to walk?
My understanding is.
Except for in the traditional.
Why
downtown.
require someone who is biking on the side of
Yeah,
it? walk
and in
to
particular,
dismount?
right, and in particular in the LOR, the setbacks are farther, so nobody's walking out of a building and getting hit by a bike coming by.
My understanding, isn't there a bike lane on the bridge,
Yes,
There's a-
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To me, the bridge doesn't seem as, I mean, people slow down when they go over that bridge usually, I think, and bike lanes.
Well, so
pretty
let's go
safe.
back to, I'm just gonna make a comment for everybody who said, I feel unsafe on the roads, right? It's this idea of losing control. The bicyclist accidents that happen in the roads generally happen because the vehicle's not the bikes. So it's a sense of losing control of how the accident happens. Now,
say that again, wait,
it's the sense that the car is the cause of the accident, not the bicycle.
that's not true.
So the bicycle is the cause.
In
of
many
this.
cases, it is the bicyclist who's not aware of the actual rules of the road.
Okay, so this is a train and all that, and take the road and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right, but I do have concerns about kids on cell phones, right? All the
People in
concerns
cars
about
and
cars on roads, the risk of that accident to me, even though the stats tell me otherwise, is I'd rather have my kid in control on a sidewalk. Coming down to getting from uptown to Shone Place though, if nobody's on the sidewalk, I'm okay if the bicycle is on the road there. Or a bicycle's on the sidewalk. As long as there's nobody within 10 feet. And if you want it to be 15, have it be 15. But I think you should be able to bike from uptown to Shone Place and then bike back. Through any artery, state or main. And
Well, let me see, I was just thinking about this, because there's bicycle clubs that come through really early in the morning. They go right down, they do Shane. But no one's there, shops aren't open, nothing's really open, they're sort of like a sunrise bike club. I don't know, do they still need to dismount? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
this is a great point. I'm okay adding the Shone Place district too, because that road is quite slow. It's got a lot of rises. And so anybody
Getting
who
on the
wants
road
to bike on Shone Place should bike.
Be on that road.
They should be on the road,
I'm okay with that there.
100%.
Yeah,
They should never be on the
there's
bike
not-
path.
yeah.
It's,
We've had this discussion,
Yeah,
we've all
okay, good,
agreed, we
okay.
need to move on, we're in a workshop.
Well-
What other bits here?
Well,
Are we
I'm just
looking at
getting to a 5 minute.
legislation? Let's be aware of what is truly legislation that David has worked on, and what are the educational components that we still need to look at after.
I mean, again, I say tough cookies to someone who's annoyed that they have to get off I mean, these are so close, these districts are so close. And I just think you're gonna have a good density of people walking around, especially in the summertime, this area.
Yeah, I have no problem with a lot of the dismounting, I really don't, I think that's the safest way to go.
mean,
I do.
like, Summertime, when everyone's gonna be biking, like, there's a lot of people walking on these sidewalks.
Well, then nobody's gonna be on their bike because there's a 10-foot requirement. The law takes care of itself. You're
How if
concerned.
we put in the distance?
The distance-
No, I get that. All I'm saying is that we have identified what are the highest
Yes.
density areas by putting in an actual zoning district of saying, no biking here on the sidewalk.
we all agree with that.
So if we're okay with the fact that you could dismount, I mean, again, I don't know who these mythical people are that are like, it's midnight and no one's on the sidewalk, I just have to zoom through, I have to use these sidewalks.
They probably would go on the street.
It's just odd. I just
Let me ask you
It's
this.
like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
So if we're solving the problem for pedestrians with the 10-foot requirement,
Potentially, I would say it's still the
I
potential
think it
to
should
be
be more.
dangerous.
right, whatever the.
Well, no, I'm just saying from the standpoint, to the person who does not listen to that, then
Yeah, it goes
you now
to-
have the fact that we're allowing bikes at all on the sidewalk introduces a higher
It still is an
risk
element of
to
risk.
pedestrians, or none. If you ban it, it is lower, it just is, it is lower risk to a pedestrian walking by outright banning bicycling on the sidewalk. It just is.
Right, so for instance, Dave, I'm walking down the sidewalk, it comes down. I'm like, excuse me, you're not allowed to be on your bike at this part, or excuse me, you're only supposed to be going walking distance, or you're supposed to be like 10 feet away from me. That's not gonna ride. It's gotta be no bikes, or, because people aren't gonna listen to the minutia of, oh, 10 feet, oh, you gotta be this distance. It's gotta be like a no bike area, period. Because I just don't think that it's gonna fly.
Let me ask you this, then, are
There's
you
all the
guys doing
argument.
the entire zoning loop? So you're saying from traditional downtown all the way around Shown Place and back, so Main to
No, I
Shown,
don't-
back to
I
State?
thought we were talking
I
about
had-
dense area.
TBD,
Yeah,
BCB, LOR, and BGB.
So I
So
agree.
red right here,
Yeah,
orange. So red, orange, and then these, the pinks.
what about Shown? It's already,
I mean, it's already marked off.
that's all.
So,
well, sidewalks aren't.
The canal path, you're not supposed to bike on.
Canal path, but not the sidewalks on Shown Place. So I
No one
think.
bikes on those sidewalks, they go on the canal path or in the.
That would be.
But I
Yes.
think, I think you added that a principle. Because
Okay, yeah,
That's
fine,
true.
then,
That's
yeah,
true.
add that, then.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, though.
Yeah.
Sidewalk is a sidewalk is a sidewalk.
Yeah.
So Dave, what's
Okay.
the LOR?
That little orange patch right there.
And then what's the red?
That's, BGB.
Is that in there?
Yep,
Village Gateway Business District.
And that's where the Jerry is.
Yeah, and.
which is
Denmark.
full of strollers and
Oh,
wagons.
it's just
and
hopping.
I don't know how anyone could bike on that in the
It's
summer.
just hopping.
It's just lined up with people. And cars coming in and out
I
of
mean,
dairy. I mean,
yeah,
it's just like,
You're
These
there.
these are the high density
From the
areas.
business district to the
Yeah.
Jerry, that's a
Yeah.
long way for a
That's
kid
where we
not to be able to drive.
Yeah.
I
That's where we
too,
started.
do understand that. Um,
again, I know I lived in New York City and all that, but I look and I'm like, this is not that far to walk.
And look at, you know,
This
let's,
is not
okay,
far.
let's, just to talk about supporting this. So down at, where Remembrance Park is, at the intersection of Washington and, Main, going into East Avenue, we should have bike racks there. You know, we should have bike racks sort of at gateways coming in, you know, in a number of areas. So, you know what, I'm gonna park my bike and run up to the dairy. Big
Park your
deal,
bike,
it's
enjoy
a
the
lot, you
park your
know.
bike, enjoy the walk. It's
Yeah,
gotta be promoted. It's
Exactly.
gotta be promoted. Yeah.
So, in other words, you have to, they don't know where to put their bike too, if you're dismounting and you wanna go somewhere, so. Just as, you know, let's make it a lot more accessible for people to say, oh, good, I can just lock my bike here and walk up. You know, or I'm gonna go meet a friend at Del Monte, you know, that kind of thing. Del Monte should put more racks into it.
So if I live on frontage and I go down to neutral grounds and I want a bike. To do that, I have to hit the canal path, right? There.
On the street.
No, well, you'd come down French, you'd get on the canal path by Del Monte
Oh, over
or
there.
by the bridge.
Yeah.
Could you
Yeah.
bike all the way?
If you bike down, then you dismount
You
right
stop
when you're
there.
at Shane,
You have to stop right there.
yeah,
Or stay on the road?
well, whatever, that's your, you know,
Yeah, so then
Okay.
you
So
can't
David-
bike here.
Yeah.
And then you would come out here and you had the flashing lights, which again. That's
And
awesome.
we can even put more bike racks in here, which we have, but we can even put more in right here, behind the Degenhart parking lot.
Which
You know,
you
so then
could
you just
only
put your
get
bike
to,
there, you're walking up
That's a
and
good
down
point.
Main.
Yeah,
you can only get there on a bike though, if you got there from the canal or the road.
Okay, and your point,
I'm
Wait,
just
you know,
thinking-
okay, Yeah,
I don't know where it's going.
Yeah. you have the Auburn Trail, if you want to go down the Auburn Trail.
So I come back to, again, the idea that shown place in the TDD, I'm on board. I understand the concern about the dairy and kind of right around in that area.
Big mess.
Is it possible to differentiate between zones and biking? Meaning, do you have to do it by zone, or could you do it by identified street? Or
We could do it either way. It doesn't have to
could you
be-
say from,
You could show a map of streets where it's allowed or disallowed, period. It doesn't, I mean, this is a good way for us to approach it, I think, just overall, but yeah, if we want to parse it a bit, of course.
Right. So if I were to parse it a bit, I guess I would say the dairy driveway, that sidewalk on that side, all the way into shown place, all sidewalks dismount. And then TDD is what I would get behind. Everything else, if there's no pedestrian within 15 feet or whatever the number ends up being, I'm fine with somebody being on a sidewalk if there's no pedestrian. And I know that you might say that there's challenges to enforcement. There's challenges to enforcement of all of this, but it goes back to the mayor's point, put the law on the books. What do you ultimately want? What I ultimately want is the ability for a bicyclist at reasonable speed, pedestrian.
Yeah, but
plus
let's look
whatever.
at it a different way. I think we should just say no bikes on the sidewalk. And it's almost like the tree falls in the woods, do you hear it? If no one's on the sidewalk and you're on the sidewalk,
No one's gonna hear.
no one's gonna be there
You're
to
not-
enforce it anyway.
you know how many-
I think it's sort of, we're sort of going down rabbit holes with
Yeah,
it. Let's
like-
put the law on the freaking books. The other thing I was thinking of too for bike racks, we could even put one in Auburn Line Park. Then you're right next to the dairy, your bike,
Well,
there's plenty of ways we can support
Do we see all the
getting
people
off their
who
bikes.
go to, forget Mediterranean place right there?
Yeah.
Trustees.
Yeah.
That park on the other side and they don't wait for the crosswalk. They jaywalk.
Yeah,
It's illegal.
yeah.
so
But that's what I mean, like,
In other
people-
words.
if you don't see a person on the sidewalk and you can,
I,
no one's around,
I
there's no
don't
law.
wanna overthink it. I want the law.
But we just need a rule that's easy to say, like,
Yeah.
Being a parent and trying to.
I want a law that I can say, this is the law, follow it,
Right.
right? That is going to be followed, that I agree with. Again, I'm saying I don't want to vote in favor of a law that I think is a little more restrictive than it needs to be to accomplish the same goal if people follow the law. So I'm drafting, I would support legislation that if people follow the law, it accomplishes your goal. I don't want to go farther because you're afraid they're not going to follow the law.
I'm just confused about what is your like
I don't know. what
obsession
we're
with
looking at.
wanting
I don't know
to
what.
be able to bike in this, like from the library to Maine, I like, I don't, and then, but then you have to get off right there, like,
Okay,
the
so-
TDD is so,
So I'm just.
all four corners, you'd have to get off anyway,
So
so.
if
Yeah,
you
you do.
take Four Corners, you see, if you take TDD and add a little bit down towards the library and you come around that corner downstate, within those regions, if it's all dismount, that's fine.
That's
And
all-
then if it's
it is
changed-
literally just
Right,
this,
sure.
the pink, orange and red.
Right, so I'm stopping,
And
I'm stopping the connectivity between them. So I'm taking the Four Corners area and sort of that districting, and then I'm taking Shane Place. The transom connecting, including over the bridge and kind of coming down and over state. I'm fine if nobody's on the sidewalk. The thing is, everybody's always going to be on the sidewalk, especially in the summer.
Okay.
So then what is,
Dismount your bike.
yeah, so just,
Well, that's what,
Dismount.
or no, I'm sorry, then just,
that's what the 10, 15-foot law already accomplishes. So why go beyond that?
I don't think we need, I think this is being
this is,
sliced and diced down to a point where we're completely
so.
mincing
I
it.
just don't understand for this.
Laws on the books, these are dense areas, they're always densely populated areas.
Get off your bike.
Freaking bike,
Stop, like, no bike.
no bike.
That's way easier to just say, look, you can't be on the side, ride a bike. on
And then if
sidewalk.
somebody's biking at 1 AM and there's no one around, who's gonna enforce it?
That'll be it.
Enough already.
Like,
I don't know.
it's
I
just
feel
weird
like
to
we're
have
getting
like
into
this
work
one
that-
little, like, the bridge,
Well, no, it also.
You hit the bridge and then you go-
Red area too.
the who area
The red area too would be excluded.
would be excluded from the ban.
Right, so you could ride your bike on the sidewalk going to the dairy,
Yes.
is what you're saying.
I don't
From,
understand.
from East Avenue, from French, wherever you're coming in, you can get the bike and basically come down.
Again, to that, I would say, so whoever that weird biker is,
I think that's.
tough cookies, walk. It's not that big a deal.
And
It's a
what I would
dangerous
say is.
With
what I
a
would suggest-
dangerous areas.
What I would suggest is, again, if you're looking for support from me, I would say start with the TDD and the Erie Canal District and the area around the TDD, that kind of bridges.
Yeah, I
the
guess
state.
people are smart.
That's okay.
I don't know.
That's okay, no, I understand.
Everybody-
And what I would say is, you can put the law on the books, you can always add districts later.
Right.
You can see how it's
See how-
going and whether it's not, right? If it's
We
working
can
or
also
not.
remove districts if we feel it's too restrictive. You can always
Sure,
amend
good.
it away.
I just would much rather be more start at
I know,
the top and go down.
then
It's a lot easier.
perhaps
And
it's
put
for
in the
public.
educational component and do all these other
And so what I
rollouts.
would do is I would rather start at
All
what
right,
I've supported and then get the other programs activated, right? Get some of this educational and eventually you just start adding other things and maybe at some point you can add all sidewalks. But for me to start, it would be put in a 10, 15 feet, add some districts and then go beyond that as it starts.
So let me ask you this, how are kids gonna know which sidewalks they could ride on, which ones they can't? And this might be crazy,
Yep.
you're right. But can we color the sidewalks? They do it on Park Avenue. Can we have pink sidewalks means just
We
pedestrians?
did put stencils down. Remember Renee had those stencils down. I mean, they weren't effective because they were in white.
Right,
you know,
but I'm
But I mean,
really
there's plenty
being
of ways,
crazy.
plenty of ways we can do things for wayfinding, for signage, for visual
Yes.
cues, for education. We can even laminate the alternative bike boulevard maps and
Yes.
put them throughout our village. There's so many things we can be doing that have nothing to do with this legislation. I support this legislation. I think we start there, doesn't work out, whoop, we amend. And then we roll out bike boulevard, we really look at this, we
And
look
ways to promote
at
it.
working with the school district, the educational component of it.
So
It's just not
legislation-
safe for people on sidewalks.
and again, I would say
And I know other people who've been hit beside me.
it was, I think it was a mischaracterization by many of the people who
Mhm.
spoke to say that this legislation was forcing kids into the street.
Yeah,
It is not.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is a choice.
yeah.
It is a choice for
But
you
dismount.
to ride your dismount. Get off your bike and it's a choice.
So
Yeah, go ahead, Dave. I'm
whether or
sorry,
not
go
we're
ahead.
looking for middle ground or not, I'll throw this as a possibility. The sidewalks from the traditional downtown and the denser population up here, right, or the denser commercial district up here, and Shone Place. If the two sidewalks that are interior toward Shone Place, so the opposite side here, right, and the opposite side on State, right? If we want to stencil those and have those be no sidewalk, no bike sidewalks ever, right? Total dismount zones. Then we can connect everything up here to everything down there with a pedestrian only sidewalk network. On the opposite side of the road, rather than doing it by zoning district, but on the opposite side of the road, you allow. And then what you do is, all you do is you stencil it. And so to the point of, because how else are you gonna do it?
Oh, I think, I agree with what Lisa said. Kids are gonna be on their bike and what side, oh, wrong
Right.
stencil. I think again, we start with a law that protects
Start with the law and we'll
Start with
figure out
the
how
law.
to promote it.
and then see if it's like, oh my God, we created this incredible havoc and it's this mess. What do we do?
Because again, I
You know.
hear, again, as a biker, I hear the
Yeah.
bikers, I understand. The problem is, I'm trying to think about, there is a larger population of walking
Yeah,
people,
that's
just
true.
bar none, than there are
Yeah,
bikers on site.
Mhm.
Just is.
All right, well, I've got a
This
hard
would
stop,
protect-
you guys. I've got to.
Yeah.
That would protect more people
Right.
than
All right.
bikers.
Well, what you just worked through for me
Mhm.
is the idea of adding Shone Place, TDD, and half of the sidewalks, right? So the sidewalks closest to Shone Place.
I don't know what you're talking. I don't know what that's
I
confusing.
think it would be confusing.
I think doing it by zones is gonna, anyway, all right, so
No, but I mean, it's a good discussion.
We need to
I
map it out.
appreciate everybody's opinion. I do want to
Yes.
say one quick thing. We had, Troop 11G, some of the scouts from Troop 11G come in. They were looking for the trustee.
I know.
that
Can't
did-
escape these kids
I
that
know,
are chucking
but-
into the street.
But I had a great, chat with them. And they're very excited actually about the bike legislation. They understand the need for it. And they want to help spearhead the outreach program for the bike safety training in the schools. So we're gonna work it through the scout troop, but got the contact information. They're all in on it and they understand the need. One of the things I'm looking at too, if we have some sort of a couple, I don't know, jamborees for bicyclists or something, maybe Towpath Bike can help sponsor it. I would love for every kid coming to that jamboree to leave with a bike bell. Okay, and I mentioned that to the scouts and they lit up. They were so excited. So,
Okay.
in other words, you kind of get a little something, something, and it helps everybody, and they're trained on how to use it. So, they're gonna be reaching out to you and me, to follow up
So,
on it.
Dave,
Okay?
before you go, I don't know what everybody's hard stop is, but can we spend 10 minutes and just hammer through the outline for the Arboretum discussion?
I need to go.
This shouldn't take long because there's nothing other than basically striking out what we don't want
Yeah,
and
okay.
Okay,
accelerate.
all right, okay, thanks, Lisa. Okay,
Got a meeting.
What am I doing with the legislation?
let's bring it back to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
We
Sorry
made
about
some
that.
notes on some of the tweaks. Lisa's gonna reach out to NICEDOT about doing center medians on Main Street.
And who's gonna give Jeff the tweaks out of
I
it?
could,
You're good with that? Okay, I can help you too. I should some notes too, if you missed any. Okay,
Wanna make
yeah,
sure-
and then we'll put it back right on the agenda, because we had the public hearing. the
Yeah, I gotta
hearing
get the
closed.
agenda together this.
I know, it's already like
Yep.
Washburn's repeat.
So Mayor, my thought on this is if I just turn this over to you to kind of spearhead, you've got some thoughts and ideas.
Mhm.
For all these numbers, we either strike them,
Mhm.
we add who the speaker is or who not, and what the time limit is, and then we just move forward.
Yeah, I think my focus really is truly just a community discussion, and
Sure.
and I appreciate the outline, but I mean, I don't think as much as this is, everybody knows the Arboretum, this is where we are right now with it.
Mhm.
This is, please know that we're already doing invasive species removal,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. How do we move forward? What does that look like?
Okay, so
You know?
I think we just hammer this out,
Yeah.
whether or not that's you, me, who,
Yeah.
what's the topic,
Yeah.
we can do this.
is there any way to, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
1 and 3 seem like they might be able to be combined.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
about-
this is exactly
Oh,
what we're doing today. This is my very brief, like,
Yeah,
what would it-
no, yeah, this is
Right?
great, though, it helps,
Okay.
that, yeah.
So the first thing is long-term plan and public discussion, target date, this is March 3rd, right?
I believe so.
March 3rd at 6 o'clock.
Mhm.
We're planning for 1 hour, is that what you said last time? Do you want to do an hour?
About an hour, if it does go a little bit over, fine, but I think it's important to have like a hard stop.
I thought it was an hour and a half for the hard stop.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was what
Oh,
I'm-
okay,
okay.
6 to 7:30, I'm fine with that, but I
Yeah,
mean,
good
I
with
just
that.
don't
Okay, I
want,
think that's good.
on and on.
Okay, so 6 to 7:30 hard stop.
So, it
Then-
won't be charrette objectives, the objectives would be,
Well-
just objectives, collaborative discussion to identify a long-term
Well,
vision, right?
no, let's go up to number 1.
Oh, one,
So first off, mayoral introduction, would you like to start us off at the Arboretum, at this event?
yeah,
Okay, how many minutes would you like?
2.
2, okay,
No, I mean,
Yeah.
thanks for coming.
right, okay.
Well, it's almost like, that was what I was thinking, is that you could say, look, the reason why we're here, here's what the
I'm
red.
good with that, I'm good for you guys, not my first rodeo, let's move on, okay.
I am now on number 2. Number 2 is Arboretum summary, mayor liaison. So we should, in the face of public comment, at least say, what is the Arboretum? What's possible, what's not, right? What's legislated, what's not? It's a park, it's not.
Mhm. That can be you and me, we can tag team that.
Tag team,
Okay,
okay.
so I'm thinking that's maybe 5 minutes,
Okay, great. So we'll keep that as is.
really
It'll-
quick, and we may even have some handouts. So people can just already kind of be
Oh.
primed with a few things, we can, that was something.
Will
I
the
was
office
thinking about.
prepare those handouts under your direction?
Yes,
Yes?
Yep.
Okay,
action item, Dorothea.
Just wrote it down.
thank you. This is perfect. So
Yeah,
then
well, we're
the,
gonna- real quick though, too,
Sure.
in conjunction with that, just with the handouts while we're talking about it.
Mhm.
Just as we have the big blow up map of the conceptual design of Shane Place, we're gonna do a big blow up map of the Arboretum so people see it.
Yeah.
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
so
Okay.
that'll be like on easel, people can look at it, that kind of thing.
so the objective number 3,
Mhm.
what if we take number 3 and roll it up into your introduction? Or do we want to do it after? I think what we do is we just do a brief thing after. So we have the Arboretum, here's what it is and kind of what's possible. And then somebody starts, Mayor, this could be you again.
Mhm.
Here's our objectives today. This is the objectives coming out of this meeting
Mhm.
after the initial 2-minute.
Okay,
Well, does
Yep.
that make sense to you?
yeah,
Okay.
I mean.
Would you like to do it?
sure, well, sure, hang on one second.
Sure.
I think what will be helpful is if we look at 5,
Okay,
and I don't think we need presentations. I think it would just, I just think We
Mhm.
acknowledge all the good work these organizations have done.
Mhm.
We're bringing this back to the community at large. This isn't a show and tell. This is where we are. What do we need going forward? What does this look like? And I just think cross out 5. They're gonna participate
As public,
as public members of the community.
so as members of public.
And
Okay.
so again, and 4 gets wrapped into sort of you and me,
Okay, so
Yeah, 4 seems like it can wrap in it.
Yeah, exactly. The tag team for 5 minutes. This is kind of where we are, followed by 3 ends up becoming 4. So based on that, these are our objectives this evening. Okay.
okay, so then we do your introduction, we kind of do the where are we today, what's
Mhm.
possible, what's not, 5 minutes. And then we get into, here's what we're gonna do tonight. And do we want to say anything of what's been done or prior input?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, just so we're clear.
Yep,
1,
Mhm.
2,
yep,
and 4
yep.
are you and me in 5 minutes.
Well, we just did 2 for the introduction, 5. So you want 5 minutes only for all of that?
Because we didn't hear from the public. Okay, let's go 10. We'll do 10.
Yeah, I think you want more
Okay.
than that.
I've done so many of these,
I
and
know.
people get in the weeds and,
You don't want to do that, but you also want, when the public sits down to sit at the table together and say, here's what we want to do.
with that, when you get to, what I said, 3 objectives.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm
So
sorry.
then the objectives after the 10 minutes are based on what you all just heard.
Got it.
This is an opportunity now to hear from the entire community at large.
Yep.
And these are the kinds of things we're gonna be looking at breakout sessions.
Yep.
Okay,
So 3
Um,
becomes 4.
right,
4 becomes 3,
There you
gets
go.
rolled up into 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Thank you, I'm on board.
you're with me.
And then the
5
public
goes away.
speaker, so the
5
organizations, so 5 goes away.
5 goes away.
But they are actually part of the public.
In any way,
We'll acknowledge them in our first 10 or 15 minutes. We'll say, these groups have been working all along. They're here tonight.
Well, and so then they're able to, as the public,
And they're gonna be in
discuss
the
what they've done.
they're gonna be in the breakout groups,
Because
and they're probably gonna
okay.
run the breakout groups,
Yeah.
because that's the type of
Gotcha.
groups that those people are. It'll be a frog thing, it'll be a path thing, they're gonna want
and
trails.
they may talk, when any member of the community
Mm-hmm.
who's participated gets up for their 3 minutes of public comment, right? I think 3 minutes is still the right number for any public comment.
We reduced it when we've had large
I
groups
know.
to 2.
All right, let's roll with a 3
Actually-
number for now until we see the number of people.
Having run these many times,
Mhm.
if you do a breakout group, you have somebody from your breakout group talk about what the breakout group came up with.
Mhm.
So they say, you know what, we ended up really looking at the fact that it's all about invasives. That's our biggest concern. You
So
don't
don't-
have every person come up and
Kind of like,
time.
table, what did you guys?
It's not like a public comment hearing
Mhm.
as much as it is a community collaborating with each together
Okay,
and then saying, this is what our group came up with. This is what our group came,
so then,
okay?
great.
And they
So-
elect a representative to speak.
So then number 4 is gonna be the objectives. Mayor, if you want to do that, or me, we can determine
We
that
can tag
later.
team it, yeah.
Sure. But what this rolls into then, 5 is gone. We don't have effectively individual members of the public getting up and saying anything. What instead we do through the objectives is we say, hey, we're all gonna sit down in these breakout sessions, and here's what we're gonna work on today.
Yeah, and all the people that are listed for public speakers, they actually, the way it would work out is, of course, they're members of the public, but they also are resource people within each breakout group. So,
Mhm.
there you go.
Okay,
So then the only thing that would be missing then from 6 would be the report from each table.
It says
yes,
presentation of ideas at the very bottom of item 6.
yeah. 6, 2.
Small.
Yeah. Well, I
Okay.
mean, like, but, just,
Yeah.
Maybe we provide them a sheet, one.
but exactly.
For
Yeah,
them to fill in.
but then the
Exactly.
fill, yeah.
Exactly. And so I mean, an hour and a half is great, but what will happen, especially when you get people in breakout groups,
Mhm.
and that's actually what I love about a community-wide, discussion like this, is there's a level of socialization that must happen before they collaborate.
Mhm.
I'm saying that just as someone who's run these.
Mhm.
So you have to factor in, okay, for them, the first 10 minutes is, but about, oh yeah, no, I did that. Oh, I don't know a thing about plants. Oh, well, here I do. Then they start to collaborate. And then
Mhm.
what will happen is you and I will be going around the room saying, okay, you're 15 minutes in.
Mhm.
Are you looking at, we may give them some little talking points. So
Yeah.
they work from that, so they,
Because otherwise
Stay
you might end up
focused.
getting one person who's like,
Oh,
type A, and it's just like.
yeah, a
oh,
type A is
oh,
gonna say, this is what we need
This is
to
what we're
do.
doing.
Yeah. So, I think, we can structure it. I think the groups are probably gonna need a little more structure, because I do think potentially, if we do get residents that really maybe don't know kind of the whole thing about the arboretum, but they're interested, then they kind of have a format as
Mhm.
well,
Yeah.
And also conversely, people that have worked in the arboretum a lot and have their own agenda, this now offloads that and gives context for everybody that there's
Mhm.
other things to cover.
Yeah. So
Okay,
then my question, I think what we've got then is a general outline. It's going to be 1, 2, and 4, followed by what is now 3, the objectives.
Mhm.
We won't have public speakers. We won't have individual members of the public. We'll
Mhm.
just go right into the breakouts.
Mhm.
And from those breakouts, we'll have the presentation ideas and
Yep.
then just follow up
Yep.
conclusion.
Yep.
Okay, so what then we don't have right now that we will need, so we've got an outline how it goes. What we don't have is the materials for the handouts or the blow up on the board. And we don't have the sort of talking points, the way that we funnel it, but we can work on that. And it's essentially going to be.
and we can work on the
what-
talking
What's
points.
the primary
Yeah.
objective of the breakout sessions?
Mhm.
What's the achievement?
Mhm.
And the Arboretum has, multiple different geographic areas,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And some overarching things like the invasives and stuff like that. Are we looking for prioritization? Are we looking for idea generation? Are we looking for, what are the primary things that we're trying to?
Is it kind of all of the above?
It-
I mean, it's
Yeah.
depending on what the public says.
Yeah, I think the short answer is yes.
The all of this. Yeah.
The
But it
short
would-
answer is yes. So, I mean, I think, yeah, I'm kind of hitting a little bit of a hard stop here myself.
Okay.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we all come up, are you comfortable with this too? Just, what do we want to have come out of this as a board? Like, what does this look like for
What would
us?
be ideal for us?
Because it's our land, we're getting the input from the community. What's our goal what do we want to have covered there? Like, I'm thinking, obviously, long-term invasive species removal, management
Mhm.
of projects that we have implemented in that area, whether it's vernal
Mhm.
ponds or the little permaculture garden, who does that?
Yeah.
Sort of, I think it should be pretty specific at this point.
What if we did this?
Any further development,
What if we had, we can come in this
Mhm.
all internally, I can ask for assistance from the FOA, or we can get it from anybody. What if we had a big stack of different things that we could accomplish, right?
big.
And, well, maybe small, maybe we're doing.
There's
but-
that big, you lost me.
But what I'm suggesting is you have a prioritization, right?
Mhm.
And you have short-term and long-term. You identify these things that you like, and then you have the public sort of put them in the different spots. And then in addition to that, you have an
Well-
idea generation.
Okay,
So. just-
some people may not agree with I'll be candid, I don't think we should put in any more trails.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think based on what an arboretum and a wildlife sanctuary is as defined,
Mhm.
I think, it's not that much land. And to keep injecting the human element over and over again into areas that have been previously untouched, I have a problem with, just as an environmentalist,
Mm.
okay? And also in terms of if you're saying it's a wildlife sanctuary. So I would rather be very discreet about how we do things, development in there
Mhm.
going forward. That's just me. So I don't know that we sort of throw all the cards on the table that way. I don't know. I mean, that's a lot,
Well-
that's a lot of heavy lifting.
So I think of what we're getting at here is if you have on the table a whole bunch of stuff and you're hoping the outcome maybe that trail prioritization doesn't even exist, right? The public
Mm.
doesn't want it, and maybe we don't want it, in the end, we don't do it. But does it mean that we don't have it as one of the sort of line items?
Well, trail maintenance,
Trail
definitely.
maintenance for
Oh, we
sure.
definitely need trail maintenance.
Right. And so this is where the short and the long term, right? We could, as a board, we generally know what we're gonna be able to afford to do and not do, and what we're generally interested in doing and not interested in doing. So we could have a bucket of things that are short term and a bucket of things that are long term, and say, how would you prioritize these? And then we could also say, within these different zones, right? Within these different zones, are there any additional ideas that are worth considering that weren't included in these? What else would you have done different than what was put in front of you?
Maybe an approach would be, because it is public land, rather than having our community prioritize short or long term,
Mhm.
they just talk about what they would like to see. And as a board, because it's our property, we maybe bring it back and say, this seems like it's a big one. We do that prioritization because we also control the budget and how we allocate resources and funding. I don't know that that's something the community needs to take on.
My biggest concern would be, I almost, it would be nice to just see what they think.
Yeah.
Without us,
Yeah,
without us
yeah,
injecting our
yeah,
own.
yeah.
We know what we can spend.
Right.
We should focus
So
on,
that's on us.
but just
you know?
have them give us all crazy ideas.
Yeah.
Some of which we can be like, well, that doesn't make any sense, or whatever, but then we bring all those ideas back to us,
Mhm.
and we know our confines, and we start bucking.
So have maybe a bit less structure than,
Yeah.
and just say, we're looking at these categories, this is what's been done.
I think
Let it
clear to
go.
them of like,
Okay.
look,
Let it go.
what's really.
Yeah.
So then, what I would suggest then, if it's gonna be open-ended like that, where you're not putting things in front of people, the 10 to 15 minutes on the front end should be descriptive enough about what is and is not possible.
Well, I think that was covered already.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same
So
page with
then,
that.
what we do
This is where we are.
We say, okay, we got tables out here, right? Just pen and paper,
Mhm.
right? You got boards if you want to go up and look at them. We'd love to hear your ideas, 3 or 4, 2 or 3, whatever works best, in terms of overall what you would like to see, and then within the different zones, what you might like to see different. Like,
And the only other thing I would add would be
Okay.
potentially having them look at timeframes, right? What are you as a resident thinking, what would you like to see immediately, right? Versus how do you want to look at some of these projects? Where do you want the arboretum to be?
this is the priority.
Yeah, I guess we could do that, although I don't know how beneficial it would be, again, because we manage that resource, and I know they're like, we want to have bike trails through there now. Not a big priority. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's sort of setting up a false expectation, maybe, I don't know. I just think, I love the idea. I think now that you say more free form, this is everybody's land, we're the stewards, caretakers in terms of oversight. But what do you want to do? They might go, absolutely nothing.
The free form is perfect. Yeah, sure.
You just don't know.
The free form idea runs the risk of not controlling for expectations, right? So this is why the setup has to be at least.
So you give them which we've said, we've covered that. They get the setup, they see where we are.
Okay.
And we just let them know,
You're a
look,
creative bunch.
yeah, and you're free to tell us whatever you'd like.
Okay.
Obviously, as a board,
Yeah.
ultimately have to make the decisions.
And I think,
We
so
can
I think,
accept or reject it.
so I think that on each page or on each table,
Mhm.
there's a sheet, and on that sheet, it's just sort of
Yeah,
overall and then
Yeah.
individual zones.
Yeah.
And then let people
yeah,
talk
and
it,
then they have a
and
representative.
then they present. Okay.
Okay, and probably, well, I don't know if we would be able to do it. I'm wondering, the library may be able to help us, because typically what, each group would get an easel with a big, just white, flip chart paper.
Mhm.
And then they would just write out what they wanted, and then the one person would get up and present what the group came up with. I'm wondering if we could.
I mean,
maybe
worst
we
of
could-
worst, just use paper that they.
No, well, sometimes. it
No, I
depends on
think
the
like,
large
yeah,
components. No,
Somebody.
That's all I'm saying,
Somebody-
nothing more than that.
Yeah.
Nothing more than that.
If you have. a
Okay,
flipboard-
that's logistics, we can work it out.
If you have a flipboard, big piece of paper.
Yeah.
With a
Right,
marker.
do it.
Okay, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Somewhere.
We have a motion and a second from David. Roll call.
Trustee Wilkes. Trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Okay, so we had a flipboard somewhere else.
Sure.
Just something to
No, that makes sense.
Are we on or?
We're not paused.